Tonight on College Press Box, all eyes are on Texas basketball as the regular season comes to an end.
And baseball and softball endured some cold weather this weekend on the diamond.
All that and much more.
It's College Press Box.
Welcome, folks, to your favorite sports show, College Press Box. We know that this is the best way to spend your chilly Mondays. So let's dive right into it. Next to me, I have my co-host, Taylor Smith. Taylor, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well. Glad this Monday's almost over and we're getting closer to spring break. How are you doing?
I am great, and I'm hoping the Texas men's basketball team can bring home a W tonight.
I would have to agree with you on that one.
Absolutely. So, the men's basketball team faced nationally ranked West Virginia on the road this past Tuesday. The Horns looked to break the two-game losing streak, yet the Horns fell short again. After an 18-point deficit, the Horns managed to cut it to 11 at halftime. DeMarcus Hollins scored 14 points and Isaiah Taylor added 13 more, but the team suffered because of turnovers. Texas finished the game with a total of 17 turnovers and a final score of 64-71.
After a tough road loss to West Virginia, the men's basketball had to go on the road again. Saturday afternoon, they played at Allen Fieldhouse in Lawrence, Kansas. Let's take a look at highlights from the game. With 14:52 in the first half, Texas leads 8-5 and a dunk by Kansas' Landon Lucas. Kansas now trails by 1. And on the very next play for KU, Perry Ellis makes another dunk, and Kansas now leads 8-9. With 9:08 left in the first half, Isaiah Taylor goes coast to coast and makes the difficult layup shot between two defenders and converts the and one. Texas leads the game now 22-21. On the last play of the first half, Javon drives to the middle and passes it to DeMarcus Hollins, who makes the three. That play takes us into halftime, 34-31 Texas. Coming out of half, we have a dunk by Cameron Ridley. Texas takes the lead again, 38-36. And this seems to be a dunk fest because Perry Ellis made another dunk right here, and Kansas now trails Texas 42-40. And then Isaiah Taylor passes to Kendall Yancey, who makes the three. Kansas leads Texas 66-64. Jonathan Holmes attempts a three-pointer right here, but he falls short, and Perry Ellis gets the rebound. With the foul and the rebound by Kansas, Kansas takes the game 69-64. Now let's listen to Coach Barnes' thoughts on the Kansas game as well as the final stretch of the season.
We have played better because we figured out we had those 2-minute periods where we, whether defensively, not getting it done, offensively, bad shot at the wrong time, bad turnover, so we have done a better job with that. Certainly overall, the last 4 games, but still, it's not good enough.
We welcome to the studio tonight basketball analyst Julien Owens. Julien, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, Katerina. How are you doing?
Doing well. So the men's basketball team fell short this past weekend on the road against Kansas. The team started the season strong, but since early January, the Longhorns have not brought consistent winning results. What has happened to this Texas team? Taylor, starting with you.
Well, I think consistency with the team has caused a lot of issues. We saw injuries with Isaiah Taylor, but also they're trying to create an identity without him and then creating a new identity with him. And then Jonathan Holmes and Cameron Ridley just have not been consistent this season. I don't know if Cam Ridley had some problems with having to share time with Miles Turner or anything, but he just isn't been a consistent player all season. And so the inconsistent wins we have seen outside is coming from the internally inconsistent.
Absolutely. It's so important that the team works together. Now, Julien, what do you think about this?
I'll have to go with Taylor as well. It's the inconsistency without this team. As she earlier just suggested, Isaiah Taylor, as soon as he went out for a couple of weeks, the team been trying to rebuild, trying to get a couple of wins without him, as they did throughout the season. But as soon as he stepped back on that court, you just never seen in the old Texas team. You just seen so many turnovers, as you talked about in the West Virginia game. 12 turnovers in the first half. What is going on with this team? So you have to ask what's going on in the backcourt, what's going on in the front court, because nobody's really making the shots. The only person who's actually been consistent on this team was Kendall Yancey, who's almost getting over 10 points a game throughout the whole last couple of games. And you go into this final stretch, if anybody on the front five is going to get any kind of consistency throughout the court, I don't think Texas is going to have what it takes to win these last 2 games.
I completely agree about the consistency issue with both your guys' points. But if you could label the biggest problem, what would it be, Julien? Starting with you.
I have to say turnovers. As we just mentioned, what you doing with 12 turnovers in the first half? When they played against Oklahoma State, when I went to that game and just drastically watched them get 10 turnovers in the first 8 minutes of the game. What are you doing? It just seems that there's no ball handling going on. And as you can see, throughout all these games, they lose their biggest games, or they let the biggest deficits go past them with bad ball handling. Isaiah Taylor trying to give Cam Ridley, Miles Turner, and Prince Ebay alley-oops when there's 3 defenders in the paint. What are you doing? I just think that they need to keep the turnovers going, keep the ball on the ground, and make sure that there's fewer turnovers in the game. The less turnovers they have, the closer the game gets.
Absolutely. The turnovers are a huge issue, as we saw, as you'll see later with the West Virginia game. Now, Taylor, what do you think is the largest issue here?
I think turnovers are a big issue, but I don't think this team is playing to their full potential. Absolutely. We see an amazing Kentucky-Texas game at the beginning of the season, and then all of a sudden Texas just falls off the face of the earth. And then we see a Kansas game. Both actually Kansas games are really good. I mean, this first one, the last 7 minutes of the game weren't good, but if Texas is able to compete with Kentucky and Kansas, they should be able to compete with everyone they're playing against, and they're just not playing to their full potential. There's no reason they should be struggling to make the NCAA tournament.
You're right, and that is the big question here, folks. Does Texas have any chance of making this NCAA tournament? What do you think, Julien?
Kat, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't even think they have a chance to get to the NCAA tournament. We saw it last week. If it was going out to the tournament, as we spoke last week, they were at the 9th spot. By the end of the first game of the week, they were down to 12, and now they're in the bubble round looking at it, outside looking in, if they don't even get to the elimination round. They have 2 more games. They're playing Baylor tonight, and then they have Kansas State later in the week. Do they have what it takes to win these games? Right now, it looks like a very close game against Baylor. They could eke out a win. They could pull out the upset. But if they can't get 2 wins this week, or even get 1 win this week, I do not see Texas going to the NCAA tournament this season.
Okay, Taylor, thoughts?
I think I would have to agree with Julien. It's really tough to answer this. Tonight against Baylor and then Saturday against Kansas State, those aren't for sure wins. Both those are very tough games. And the last game against Kansas State, Texas did pull out a victory, but Kansas State didn't have their best player, Marcus Foster. So those are things you have to weigh in. And even if these 2 games were for sure wins, Kansas State has gotten hot at the end of the season, beat Kansas and beat Iowa State. I feel like they have more of the momentum going into the Big 12 tournament and then the NCAA tournament. I just don't think Texas really has a chance this year.
It's unfortunate. But thank you both, Julien and Taylor, for your insight. I personally would like to see Texas come together and, hey, surprise us, maybe Big 12 tournament title. You never know. So coming up, we'll be talking women's basketball and the results of some Big 12 championships. Stay tuned. It's College Press Box.
Welcome back, and thanks for watching College Press Box tonight. Last segment, we talked about the falling men's basketball team. But this segment, we're talking about the hopeful women's basketball team, some Big 12 champions, as well as Texas golf. Let's get into it. On a 2-game win streak, the Lady Horns traveled to Lubbock to face Texas Tech a week ago Saturday, February 25th. The Lady Horns started off early with a 10-2 run led by Brooke McCarty and Ariel Atkins, but the Red Raiders caught their own spark and tied the game at 12-all. With 7:40 left in the first half, the Horns regained the lead and went into halftime up 31-25. In the second half, McCarty scored 10 points and the team was 17 of 23 from the free throw line. The Red Raiders tried to make a late game comeback with 10 minutes left in regulation, but Texas held on to their lead and won 62-59.
After an away victory against Tech, the Longhorns traveled to Morganville, West Virginia to face the Mountaineers. Let's check out the highlights. Texas was starting off in the second half. Linda Stephanie drives to the hole and gets the layup. West Virginia cuts the lead to 5. Now, a few possessions later, Breanna Taylor drives and finds Ariella Atkins, who pumps and then drains the 3 in the defender's face. Texas goes up 46-38 with the bench loving it. Texas is up 61-55. West Virginia moves the ball around. Bria Holmes drives into the paint and kicks it out to Bree McDonald, who goes in, gets that layup. The Mountaineers cut the lead to 4. In overtime now, 61 all. Stephanie drives and dishes out to Avery Fields, who then again nails the 3. West Virginia takes a 64-61 lead. West Virginia, like I said, leads 64-63. Stephanie again works her magic and finds Bria Holmes in the arc. West Virginia will go on to win 76-69, outscoring the Horns 15-8 in overtime. Texas drops to 8-9 in Big 12 play. UT's Lee and Joe Jamal Texas Swimming Center hosted the Big 12 tournament this past weekend. Number 6 Texas women won all 7 events on Saturday, winning the Big 12 championship, their 13th Big 12 conference title overall. They finished with 1,082.5 points, and Iowa State finished in second place, recording only 618.5 points. The number 1 Texas men's team won the Big 12 championship as well, completing its second ever sweep and 19th Big 12 title. They finished with 1,040 points, with TCU in second place, recording 797 points. And this past Saturday, Texas track and field took away the men and women's Big 12 conference title. The women's team went neck and neck against Kansas State, but secured victory in the 4x4 meter relay, winning the title by 6.5 points. The men's team won by over 40 points to give Texas its first Big 12 indoor conference title since 2006. In the next 2 weeks, the Longhorns will be preparing for the NCAA championships in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Over the weekend, the Texas men's golf team was in the Florida competing for the Collegiate Invitational. Texas won the tournament, giving them their second win of the season. Sophomore Bo Hostler won his first tournament in his career at Texas. He finished 4 under par and 5 strokes ahead of second place. Next week, March 9th through the 11th, the Texas Longhorns will be playing in the Southern Highlands Collegiate Masters in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Up next, we'll go over weekend results from Texas baseball and softball. Don't go anywhere. This is College Press Box.
Welcome back, and thanks for sticking with us. It's time to take our talk to the Texas baseball diamond. Because of the cold weather, the Horns played a doubleheader on Sunday. Let's go out to UFCU Disch-Falk Field for the highlights of the game. During Game 1, it's a cold day at the Dish, and the temps never rose over 42 degrees. Colin Shaw, batting in the 2-hole, hits a double to the left field center gap, and he is on second base. After a pass ball, CJ Hinojosa flies out, but Colin Shaw tags up and scores. Texas is up 1-0 in the bottom of the first. In the top of the second, San Diego's Hunter Mercado Hood singles through the left side, scoring a run. The Toreros would score another run this inning and take the lead. San Diego is up 2-1. The top of the second, though, the inning ends with a Michael Cantu diving catch. Wow, what an awesome play by the first baseman. And then in the top of the fifth, an RBI sacrifice fly adds some insurance for San Diego right here. And San Diego will go up 3-1 in the top of the fifth. In the bottom of the seventh, we see some life for Texas. Brooks Marlowe draws a walk. And there's a pass ball, and Brooks Marlowe is put in scoring position. But Texas struggled at the plate all game with 7 straight strikeouts, and we saw it happen here, and San Diego ended up winning 3-1. And our very own Jeremy Thomas was at the game on Sunday. Let's take a look at his recap of the team's struggles.
The 9th-ranked baseball team stunned. A below 500 San Diego squad swept Texas in a doubleheader on Sunday. Longhorn skipper Augie Garrido believes the team played without what he called a fundamental aspect of the game.
I think we played with a lack of discipline.
Without discipline, Texas scored a combined 2 runs on 5 hits and struck out 16 times. Garrido says the players tried too hard to overcome an absence of production.
When it was most obvious was some of our best hitters swung at every pitch outside the strike zone with a runner in scoring position.
Sometimes that's just going to happen where you just get a little antsy, and yeah, everyone wants to get that big hit. You want to be that guy to, drive the runners in and just sink our way today.
Despite all its struggles, Texas has already found ways to improve for their upcoming series against Stanford.
First of all, you have to make them aware of it. Secondly, you have to put them in situations in practice and force them to practice at a level that is highly competitive.
Humbles you and you come out and don't play so well, especially at home. Get back at it tomorrow, practice, get better at those fundamental things we weren't good at today, and going with a lot of confidence up in Palo Alto.
Stanford posts a 6-6 record, but that's deceiving, already playing 3 top 30 ranked opponents.
They're always big, they're always good, they're a physical team, their pitching staff. Last year, I remember it was all freshmen, really experienced, and we're excited to play them.
The 4-game series against the Cardinal is scheduled to start Thursday. Jeremy Thomas, College Press Box.
And now we're talking Game 2. After 8 innings in, this game was just a pitcher's duel. The scoreless battle changed, though, in the 9th inning. The Toros offense rallied 6 runs, and Texas was able only to score 1 run. The Toros tied up the series against the Longhorns 7-7. Texas faced Stanford on the road this week.
Over the weekend, the Longhorn softball team hosted the Texas Invitational. It was a very cold weekend, but these softball players toughed it out. The Horns finished the weekend 4-1. Friday afternoon, the Longhorns had a defensive pitching duel with Dartmouth, but ended up winning the game 1-0. The Horns' run came in the bottom of the 7th. Freshman Erica Wright recorded the win. In the loss on Saturday afternoon to Lamar, the Horns gave up 5 runs in the top of the 1st inning and never rallied back. Pitcher Tiara Davis struggled with her grip on the ball in the drizzly rain, starting off the game with 2 hit batters and a walk. Texas' only run came in the bottom of the 5th. Not enough to stop the run rule, though, and Texas lost 1-9 in 5 innings. On Sunday, Texas beat Texas Southern 4-0. Pitcher Gabby Smith pitched a 2-hit shutout. This coming weekend, the Lady Horns will play in the Carolina Classic in Chapel Hill.
So Taylor, we're looking at these teams start of the season. What do you see as the strengths of them?
Well, for the baseball team, I would have to say the strength is their pitching staff. They are 8-4 with a 2.49 ERA. That's just pretty good for the beginning of the season, and they only have recorded 33 walks. But I think the problem right now is since we saw 2 losses over the weekend, the batters are just not advancing runners and not getting runs across the board, and that really doesn't help the pitching at all. Now for the softball team, though, I think their strength is the offense. The top 6 batters have a 280 batting average, and the Lady Longhorns are really using the long ball. They have 19 home runs and a total of 43 extra base hits on a total of 144 hits of the season. Their pitching staff is young and coming together, but I think their bats are really going to carry them right now while their pitchers are trying to adjust.
Absolutely, and with those stats you threw out, we're going to have a heck of a season. But what players do you see shining among the Longhorn teams?
Well, for the baseball team, I would definitely have to say Casey Clemens moving from first to the pitching rotation. I think he's really going to fulfill the Clemens legacy at
Absolutely.
UT. And then Parker French is back for his senior season, and he's a seasoned pitcher, so he has that experience and performance to bring to the team. And left-handed pitcher Josh Sawyer, I think we're going to see him do well in the rotation. And then there's a freshman closer, Kyle Johnson. Yes, he's only a freshman, but he just came from a dominant senior season where he won the 6A championship in baseball. And so he's considered the closer right now who throws around mid-90s, but I think he's really going to help the Horns close out some victories this year. And for the softball team, the offense for the Horns is what I really expect to see. Holly Kern is leading the lineup with 22 RBIs, and so I really think that's going to help, as well as Lindsey Stevens, who will supply the power because she already has 6 home runs on the season.
Wow, you're right. I'm very excited about this season with baseball and softball. And, you know, I had my heart set on Omaha last year. Last June, the Longhorns fell a little bit short, and the softball team, they didn't make it past the regionals.
Yeah.
What are these expectations for both of these teams?
Well, I think the men's baseball expectation is to always make it to Omaha. That's nothing new. But this year, I would like to see them actually win the College World Series. They have the pitching to do it, and their offense is actually coming alive and doing better than last season. We just need to see the runs actually come across the plate. But I think there's always an expectation to make it to Omaha, but this year there's an expectation to win it all. And then for the softball team, I really expect a high offense from them all season. UT will battle for the conference championship and try to get a berth into the NCAA tournament. The pitching staff is young and coming together, which makes it tough to battle deep in the NCAA tournament, but there's always high expectations for Texas sports.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to seeing both of these teams go deep and perform well in these College World Series. I'm excited.
I am too, Katerina, and thank you for letting me talk baseball and softball with you.
Absolutely.
Up next, we'll have our last segment where we look ahead into Longhorn sports for the rest of the week.
Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to, sadly, the last segment of College Press Box. Thanks for staying with us. So let's check out what's going on in Texas sports this week. All right, so tonight we have the men's basketball versus Baylor. Hopefully y'all are watching that now. And look forward to, on Tuesday, seeing the women's basketball game against TCU.
On Thursday, baseball will be at Stanford and softball at North Carolina. And also on Thursday, the men's swimming and diving will be at the American Short Course Championships.
And if you want to head to Ohio or North Carolina or Stanford, you can catch the softball and baseball team. And also women's basketball, Big 12 Championships is from Friday to Monday.
On Saturday, the softball and baseball will still be in Charlotte and Stanford, women's tennis in Houston, and on Sunday, baseball will still be at Stanford. And on Saturday, men's basketball versus Kansas State at 3 p.m. And before we go tonight, let's take a look at that crazy Allen Fieldhouse atmosphere that everyone always talks about.
Man, Taylor, one day I hope we'll get an environment like that.
Well, I guess we can only be so hopeful. I think the crazy atmosphere comes from a good team, and Texas fans are longing to see a Final Four team like in the TJ Ford era.
Hey, you know, I really think one day it can happen. We gotta have our horns up.
I think I would have to agree with you, Katerina.
Yep, you always gotta have some positivity, Taylor.
Well, you always add that positivity around here, so I'm getting it lately.
Good, I try. All right, well, tune in to College Press Box, folks, every Monday at 9 p.m. and College Crossfire on Wednesdays at also 9 p.m. You can follow us on Twitter at College Press Box. For everyone in the studio, Master Control, Julien, Taylor, and myself, have a wonderful night.